Hi everybody, welcome to another Saturday Night Live, our first of the new year. My name is Peter Driver and I am here in Biscari Fly in County Kilkenny. I hope everyone had a great Christmas, had a happy new year to everybody. How you doing, James Hope? Billy Boland's on there with us, Christoph, Josh Murray, Alan Lawless is on there, Alan, Dave. Alan's looking for a handy question tonight. Graham Lonigan there. Yes, Graham, he's still in the job, and he'll be along later on with a nice little question. Evening, Liam Long, to yourself. I hope you're keeping well. I hope indeed everyone's keeping well. Patrick Smith. I hope everyone is said has a good start to the new year so far. Bernard, how you doing? Robbie Berry's on there. How you doing, Robbie? What's your tipple tonight? Gianluca's on there. Matt Callaghan, Steve Livingston. Great to see so many people back on. Tonight we're going to do a little bit of nymphing, folks. A little bit of Perdigons. Richard O'Connor, how you doing? Donald Rafferty. Thanks, Donald. Hi, Lorraine. Lorraine there from France. Good to have you under. Stephen Potsy, Macintosh, Jim Myler. Jim Myler, I got your message today. I think if it's the same Jim about the hackles, we'll definitely do something like that in the evening. How you doing, Sean O'Shea, Robert Flaherty, Paul Burke? Great to have so many people on with us here in the new year. Happy New Year, everyone, 2022. Let's hope by the time we get out of this year, we're going to be out of this goddamn mess we've that found ourselves in a couple of years. So fingers crossed, this is the year. How you doing, Johnny Brannigan? How did you get on after in Adair Springs, Johnny? Kevin Hamill, Dylan Roberts from the Welsh D, Michael Dwyer's on with us there as well. So Nymphin night tonight. We're going to be doing some Perdigons. I got four really good Perdigon patterns here for you tonight, folks. How you doing, Jared Lennon? Four real good Perdigon patterns to show you that have been tried and tested. We did do a Perdigon night last year as well, and we did some Perdigons. These are going to be a little different styles. There's a few little things like this. Smittix tonight, Peter. Yeah, I'd say it is, Robbie. I like, Smittix is a great drink. Mike McGovern. How you doing, Mike? Not looking too good, Mike, for Marlborough, unfortunately. I tell you, Mike, I'll give you a ring tomorrow. Mike all the way from New York there. Great to have you on with us. Norman Wells from Bahamas, Patrick Burke there. And Thomas is on from California. What a fantastic group of people we have on the show here tonight, folks. Brendan Doherty's on there as well. Okay, I'll get cracking here. So tonight it's all about Perdigons. We have the one and only Mr. Eamon Conway from Ton Fly Fishing is going to be on with us later on. Had a great chat with Eamon last night. Very interesting to hear his thoughts and his analysis of how he approaches fishing, in particular Perdigons and stuff like that. So really, really good. How you doing, Ricky? Congratulations to Ricky Croak, by the way. He won the Mount Juliet voucher for a year's membership after our New Year's draw, or Christmas draw on New Year's Eve night. Well done, Ricky. I hope you're going to enjoy that. How do Jamie Conway, and Jared Hillard, and Colin O'Gara's on there as well. So Eamon's going to be along a little while. We're going to try a few nymphs, but just one little announcement I want to make as well done, folks, before we start. I'm not sure if any of you seen on Facebook now, but Adair Springs is hosting the Irish Springs Angling Fair on the 30th of April, the 1st of May. I know the tickets went live there about half an hour ago. I do Christoph from Poland as well, Sean O'Shea. I don't know how to turn that off, Sean. Someone's asked me about that before, but I'm not quite sure. If someone can give a bit of a link there. How do Ricky Woods? So anyway, irishspringsanglerfair.com. You can see it up there. That's the website. If you go on and buy your tickets on Beforehand, yeah, Robbie. If you buy your tickets online, you can see you can win a VIP weekend. And what a weekend that would be. So you get free entry to the Angling Fair for two people for 2 days. You get a twin room Saturday night in the Tower Hotel Waterford. You get a free food voucher for the value of €40 to keep you fed over the weekend. You get a very tasty VIP gift bag, shuttle buses to and from the hotel if you decide to have a beer or two, and then you get 2-day passes to do a bit of fishing in Adair Springs as well on top of that. So if you get on and buy your online tickets between now and the fair, guys and girls, you are going to be entered into that draw. So that's coming up, as I say, on the 30th of April, the 1st of May. Pescari Fly is going to be there with all our bells and whistles. I'm going to be there doing demonstrations, doing some talks on Euro-Nymphing and different river techniques, along with a host, and I mean a host, of top-level anglers from all over. We're going to have the shop there. It's a lot of trade stands. I was down with Ned this morning, and he's got some great plans. It's going to be a great weekend, and let's hope people support it and get out there and have a bit of fun. Great to meet up with people again. Great to be back at the shows. Really looking forward to it. So anyway, let's rock on. Let's rock on a little bit, and we're going to start with a first Perdigon. So this one was kind of designed on a larvae. I found a larvae in a caddis one time and I decided to try a Perdigon. Now, we all know Perdigons have their advantages. There's no doubt about it. There is times when Perdigons, you've got to fish them. Really good for deep, fast penetration, smaller nymphs. There's no restriction there. How you doing, Desmond? Great stuff. Brendan Sklan, Dick Croak, how you doing, Dick? So, Perdigons are fantastic for getting deep penetration, especially in fast water. That's where they're designed over in the Pyrenees, to penetrate those hard, fast rapids to get down to trout in the very narrow little pockets. So they do have their advantages. On here, I got a 301 hook with a 3.5 mil. This is a size 14 hook, and I got a 3.5 mil dark copper bead on it. Okay, I'm putting on some Tommy Fly number 31 as an underbody here on this one, and I'm just going to taper it up to that bead just for a moment. Eamon's going to be on with us in a little while there, folks, and he's going to be talking a bit more about Perdigons and stuff like that. And as we go through the night, don't be afraid to ask any questions. If I can answer them, if I get time to see them, I will do my best to answer them. If not, give me a shout sometime during the week and I can answer them. Don't forget, you can win tonight's flies and a few flies I did earlier on, just to warm up the hands, by just simply sharing the stream. Hit the share button on the stream or send over a comment, and that will put you into the draw to win tonight's flies. We'll do the draw normally, and probably we'll give our YouTubers a chance. Hi to all our YouTubers tomorrow. We'll give our YouTubers a chance, and we'll do that draw normally Tuesday or Wednesday. So once I've tapered up a bit to that bead, I start making my way down. How you doing, Stuart? I start making my way down the body a little bit. Going to put in a little bit of cocktail for a tail. It's a light coloured cocktail. It's not my typical dark one I use, not for this particular pattern. Light, very well molted, from the Vaux in France. We have them down in the shop there. So an awful lot of people tie their Perdigons on jig hooks, and I do too, a certain amount. But there is a difference with tying them on a standard shank hook as I'm doing this one. Okay, they definitely swim different, and there has been days where I have been fishing a jig hook. And how you doing, Tony? How you doing, Catskill? Yeah, it's absolutely going to be a fantastic show in Adair Springs. There's great plans, really is. I was down with Ned today. Fantastic plans coming. So I've often been nymphing with Perdigons or even jig nymphs, and just you're just lipping fish, you're just not making that connection. And if you switch over to the standard shanked hook, for want of a better description, they can often connect. So I do tend to mix my Perdigons, have a bit of both on, jig hook versus the standard one. And of course, if you look at most of the top international anglers in France, Spain, Czech Republic, most of them don't do their Perdigons on jig hooks. They'll do them on the standard hooks. Okay, the 301, the hacker hook, I find great. Personally, it is a dry fly hook. Yes, you do ring. How you doing, James Murphy? You do run the risk of a straightening, but I've never had one straighten yet, and that's, swear to God, I've never had one straighten. You're on a two-way rod. The flex in the rod is going to support that hook. Very fine wire, very sharp points. You're going to set that. If that hook gets in at all, you will bury it right up, and it's it's fantastic. You don't bounce off as many fish, I find, with those light wire hooks as you would with a heavy wire hook, a wet fly hook as such. Okay, so once I've got that tied in, then I'm thinking about the different stages here. I'm then going to add in a thread bobbin with another Tommy Fly color. This is number 14, and as who do you call it was saying it there on our Christmas special, just one or two turns. I'd be very conscious about how many turns I'm giving the thread, especially down the back end. I really want to keep that butt slim. I want to taper it up to the bead. But Terry Phillips said it wouldn't be a Pescari fly if it didn't have Tommy Fly threading it. I just love that stuff. I find it fantastic. So once I've added that, hang it back out of the way, and I'm going to take a third thread bobbin, and this one then has UTC Ice Blues Pearl fine in it. Okay, how you doing, Elaine? Elaine Munn's on there. Happy New Year to yourself, my dear. Maria, how you doing, Maria? New to fly fishing, absolutely love it. Well done. Congratulations, Maria. You're very welcome to the family. And if you ever have any questions or you're struggling with it, by all means, shoot us across here a message in Pescari Fly, and we'll only be delighted to try our best to help you out or give you an answer to whatever might be bothering you. So now I'm going to just come down the hook just to where I want that body to start, and start tapering it back up again. Again, getting a very narrow taper as best as I can down the back of that. Up there, and just leave it a little shy in the eye. Yeah, they're very good, Robbie. The class jig hooks, the C240 or the C241, Robbie. Thanks, Andrew. Andrew, I hope you have the voice in front of you now, Andrew, and you're practicing this now as I'm talking. So Andrew's new to fly tying today. Andrew decided to fall into that black hole, lads, and buy himself a voice and a few tools. He popped down to me today, Andrew Hosey there. Thanks, Aaron. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to whip finish this off, get this out of the way. So I hope you're You're lashing them out there now, Andrew. Okay. So now I take my ice blue pearl and I'm going to cover that body up along. Okay. The ice blue pearl will still leave a nice green. It just puts a particular, how you doing, Wayne? It just puts a particular tinge. You're not going to get the full visual effect of what the ice blue pearl does on camera. Um, but it does, it gives a beautiful kind of effect to that green. I'm only going down, I'm actually going to just unwind a little bit back to where I doubled up on that. So a single layer down the back half, and then kind of halfway up, I'll start adding another layer. So it'll go from a very nice bright green, but to a nice icy blue green up near the top. Almost borderline white. Okay? You can see a little bit of that taper there now. Lovely. You see, this was Stuart O'Keefe, good man. Yeah, Andrew, you better have the credit union book. So anyway, once we get up near the head, I'm then going to whip finish that off. Okay, and take that over way. This is based on a little caddis I found one time in cased caddis, and I was fishing some very fast pockety water, and I just wanted to try something with that kind of color combination. I took a picture. Now, before I ribbit or complete any more of this, how you doing, Alan? Before I ribbit or complete any more of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to catch my Tommy fly halfway up, and I'm going to spin that thread bobbin because I want this Tommy fly to get really, really thin. Okay, if I layered it on flat, the ribbon effect won't have the same. It won't have the right effect that I want it to have. Okay, I want a nice, tight, fine orange rib going up this. That's what I saw at that time when I was looking at it. It looked like a real fine orange rib, to my eyes anyway, going up it. By the way, I got a ball load of fish on it afterwards. Now, some people might say, does the and I would, we're not going to get into this debate tonight. How important is the body versus the bead? Everyone knows my thoughts on it, okay? But, sometimes the pattern does. So once I've given that a good spin, I'm going to have a real nice fine rib going up there. And I'm going to just take my time and rib that fly as even as I can. Up along. And you can see there, the rib is subtle, but yet on top of that green and that ice blue, it just gives it a fantastic looking. Podrick Wilter's on there. How you doing, Podrick? It gives it a fantastic, lovely, for want of a better way of describing it, sweetness to the fly. It's a lovely little bit of colour, very subtle, not overpowering. Add in an extra little bit in behind the bead, just like so. A little bit of a whip finish. Don't overdo the whip finish. You don't want to build it up there. It's going to be all resined up. Okay. I know a lot of people would say when you're cutting this off, you do tend to leave a little stub end. You can often leave a little stub end. I tend just to get the scissors, slide it in there, and just use the blade of the scissors and nick it off one small little bit of hair there, and that gets a fairly tight cut. Okay, I have had occasions where it has unraveled a little bit for me, but you can see that little rib, you can see the tone of that body, very grubby, wormy looking kind of grubby looking little nymph, and brilliant, Paul. Delighted to hear it. Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. So now we're going to move to the resin. Okay, I get asked a ton of questions about resin all the time. What's the best resin, what's the best lights, and all that kind of stuff. We've talked about it here before, but it's been asked again, and that's kind of why I went on to the kind of the Paragon light tonight again. Okay, I use Solderez. Okay, that's the Solderez bottle I use the whole time. That big blue bottle. That big blue bottle is handy. There's a lot in it. Does me for quite a while. It's the Solderez thin and hard formula. I use that an awful lot. I do use the bone dry quite a bit. I use quite a bit of the Solderez bone dry black. Okay, I find that very good. We're going to be using a bit of that tonight. Solderez does do quite a range of, you got some Solderez Bone Dry Plus. You got the black, you got the clear in the Bone Dry. You've got medium velocity, you got thick hard, you got flexi. So there is quite, absolutely, Elaine. Yep, good point there. Yeah, it is Robbie. Yeah, it's a lovely. How you doing, Kevin Marr? Kevin only by half the shop, Andrew. But there is a lot, of resins. And there's other good resins. This is the one I like. I think it's the best. I've tried them all, and this is the one I find sets the hardest. leaves as little possible clouding, you know, and stuff like that. But very important, an awful lot of people say to me, I've got solder res, I'm having a couple of problems. One common problem would be it can get a little bit clunky. Now, if you read any of the packages on the solder res, it's because it's crystallizing. A couple of seconds blast in the microwave, and they recommend it brings it back to life again. So please, you know, just give it a blast in the microwave, and that can bring it back. Like Stanley Blade is another great, yeah, absolutely, Gianluca. Yeah, it takes away any little bits and pieces. So it can be a little bit lumpy. That's one common problem. Another common thing I often get asked about is the pen or why are they using a torch? Okay, I've used them all. I've used all the different. I've used all the different torches over the years. You can buy quite expensive ones. Some of them are 80, 90 quid. I'm telling you now, UV laser pen is the only thing you should use on your resin. Okay, the laser will set that resin far faster than any torch will, any bulb. Okay, the laser resin, it'll set it. If you put a decent lump of laser on it, we'll see if the camera will pick it up. You'll see smoke coming off the fly. It sets it like glass. It's rock solid. Another very important point, when you're resin, this goes for buzzers, not only Perdigons, but this goes for buzzers as well. Or not for only for Perdigons, it goes for buzzers as well. Okay, I put a little bit of resin into a little tub here. It's a little hook box tub. You can see it there. I find it easy. I pour a bit in that, and then I use my little artist brush to help me do it. I put a nice blob onto the a little bit of a hair there, I see. Put a nice blob onto my brush, and I start and I put that blob up near the top of the bead, up where the bead is, okay? And then I drag it down. Drag it down. Get a nice taper on it, okay? Take your next blob and go around to the side and do the same. Now, it's very important when you're doing any resin work, that resin has to come up onto the bead, and at the best you can do, it has to go to the hook at the tail. That seals the fly. If you have a little gap, or if you stop a little short, there is a chance that water can get in there, and that can cause fogging of a resin as well at times. Okay, so if you're sealing a fly with resin, you've got to make sure you seal it well. Little bit around, you get a nice clean, easy taper on it, as you can see, and give it a shot of the light. Okay, you can see that. Did you see the puff of smoke coming off that one? Not sure if you did, but you can see the intensity of that color when I put that pen on that, of that Tommy fly stuff that's under the blue, that thorax and stuff, already set. That's set ages ago, perfectly bone dry. Okay, thanks Graham, thanks Jim. Okay, I'm going to give the solder as a bit of a shake. Yes, absolutely, James Murphy O'Connor. Yeah, the laser pen stops it from staying sticky. That's like a piece of glass now. Absolutely perfect. You can maul that in your fingers, you get great. So I just take this out, I tease off a little bit of it. Okay, going to put that little black thorax in the back of it. I just want it halfway up across the bead, slightly down at the body. A little bit of a danger that can run on you sometimes. So second you get it on, flick the bead upside down. You can put away your solder, you put away your brush and everything like that. That's not going anywhere for the moment. Okay, give it a little zap. It just sets it, stops it from flowing down around either side. Now I used to use a lot of Sharpies, and sometimes I do too. But for some nymphs like this one, I want that really jet black spot on the top. And there we have it. Very simple little nymph. Okay. Lovely colour combination. Really nymphy. You can see that lovely rib. You can't really make out that UV blue that's in that body. It's not very standoutish, but if I was to hold that in a bit of daylight, thanks James, if I was to hold that in a little bit of daylight and just flicker it in my hand, it's lovely, wetty kind of UV blue comes off that with that lovely bright green underneath, and gives a very natural tape to that body, and the colours going up into that orange, and very I do, James, very nice nymph indeed. And that was a real good catcher. Thanks, Alan. That was a real good fish catcher for me last year. Go on, Robbie. Real good fish catcher to me. Not much. Take your time with the proportions. Take your time with the resin work. Take your time with all the different fine threads and stuff like that. Yeah, Saul. How you doing, Saul? You're very welcome to the show. How you doing, Declan Noonan? Thanks very much. Saul, lots of... what did you use to get the blacks? Sorry, Robbie. It's the Solarez Black. Bottle's a bit stained now because I've had it for a long time. Solarez Bone Dry Black is what I'm using to do that black head. I use the pen too sometimes, but you can see how jet black that is for that one. And that's... Thanks, Tony. That's really good. Right, so I'm going to jump onto another one as well. Another nice pattern that's gone into the box there. Don't forget, in order to win all these lovely nymphs along with some others, all you got to do is hit that share button on the stream. Saul, you were asking about tips of how to fish a nymph. Contact is the most important thing I can tell you, Saul. We've lots of YouTube videos up there and lots of these shows that go into techniques and nymphing and stuff like that. Check it out. Yeah, it can be very good. Needle can be very good too, Kieran. Check out our YouTube channel there, Saul. Go back on a lot of our shows. We've been doing this for the last 2 years. There's a lot of information there. There's a lot of great guys that come onto the stream and share their information as well. So please do. If you need any tips, send us a private message and we can answer you. As we could be here till midnight if I had to talk about how to fish these nymphs to somebody. So right, moving on before we go and see Mr. Eamon Conway. We're going to do a little black nymph. Now I've been fishing this one for a long time too. This one's a good old one, and it's always been one of those nymphs that that really can, pull a fish in a difficult situation. Black is always a good colour for a perdigon, I think. Now, I am not going to say, if I had to choose, and I asked this question, another one for the boxing dookie, yeah. If I asked this question on Facebook a few years back, I put up a poll. If you were imaginary in the World Finals Championships, you needed one more fish to get the gold medal. You had 2 flies in your box and you needed to make a change. What would that change be? The 2 flies are a pheasant tail, Frenchie, and a perdigon. What do you choose? A lot of people, I would choose the Frenchie, okay? I do find perdigons very useful. Am I completely into them? Not necessarily. I have a few good patterns in the box. Do, Saul, have a look at some of our channels. Send us a private message with any questions and I'll get back to you tomorrow or during the week. But I do fish perdigons. I find them very effective. Where me personally, I use a lot of them is kind of when I've gone through a piece of fast water with my hare's ears or my pheasant tails or whatever it may be. I'll come back on that piece of water, and Desmond Paul is on the pheasant tail there as well. I'll come back on that piece of water. Robert Flaherty's on the Frenchie. How many other people would be up for the Frenchie? I'm not going to be able to keep account, but what would you choose? If you had to get one fish, you had a perdigon, any perdigon of your choice, mind you, or you had a Frenchie, a pheasant tail Frenchie. What would you choose? And you had to get that one fish. Dave Donovan's on a Frenchie there as well, so too Billy Boland. Right, so, but like I use the perdigons when I go back on water, secondary time or even the third time, and I'm recycling on his pocket, because they do penetrate that bit quicker. They do get down that little bit deeper. Smaller perdigon will get you down deeper than a smaller pheasant tail, don't forget. Okay, Terry Phillips is on the words. Go on, Terry. And Terry wins the gold medal. Because everyone else blanked on the pheasant tail. All right. But they get into those little pockets that little bit better. Again, I'm just tapering up this. So I got a size 14 301 again. I got a 3.5 mil counter some bead. And as you can see, I work the taper before I start heading too far down the body. And just letting that thread then drift down 1 or 2 turns every time I come down. It just gives me a nice natural progressive taper until I'm ready to do the rest of me. Now you can add a little bit of lead in there to save you this little bit of thread and stuff, but I tend to find it can be heavy enough and exactly what I need. And then just as I work down along again, see every time I come down and go a little bit further, gives you a nice, a lot of people there going for the Frenchie, gives you a real nice even taper on that nymph without having to go back and up and down or something like, if the pheasant tail doesn't work, absolutely. Okay, so Coq de Leon, a little bit of a darker Coq de Leon this time. I've been using this one for years now. This would be one that'll be in the box always, and this would be a nymph that I would choose maybe on a third recycle when I'm going back up the river. So again, once I get down near the bottom, the turns are very calculated. I want to get that nice taper on that. I want to get that nice taper. Where's my scissors gone? I want to get that nice taper on. So we're on a little bit of a red holographic butt here. Dave Donovan's going to be on with his trivia now in a little while, and we've Eamon Conway from Tawn Fly Fishing on with us here. Eamon is a well-renowned competition angler, several times international angler, several times national champion, several times provincial champion, and indeed he's the only man in Ireland that holds 4 titles in the 1 year. He held the 2 Leinster Championships ITFA in Taffy in the same year as the year he won the Taffy Nationals and the ITFA Nationals. So what an achievement. Never been done before, hasn't been done since. I think Brian Larkin came very close 1 year. So as you can see, when I'm down the butt here, I'm very calculated, taking my time not to overbuild that butt up, okay? Little bit of red holographic butt on this one. And just taking my time, tying a nice tight simple little black boat on that. Happy New Year to yourself, Betty. Hope yourself and Michael are well. Great having Betty and Michael on with us there. That interview was absolutely fantastic. I watched it back since and got a great response from everyone. What a fabulous couple Michael and Betty are. So once I've got that little butt there, I come back up and just even out any little bumps that might be there. Back up near the head. Now up in here, I am going to absolutely sure Eamon does some really good. Eamon has a YouTube channel. We'll be when we're talking to Eamon, we give all that a good show. But Eamon has a very good YouTube channel, and again, very nice guy, very willing to share his information and techniques. This is a little bit of fine UV mylar pearl, and I'm just going to put a little thorax up there. Right up to the back of that bead. And again, just with the blade of my scissors just running in there. Happy enough with that. And as you can see, I never tend to really build the body right up to the rim of the bead. I always like a very little, you can see the very little bit of a gap there. So it allows me to put a real nice strong layer of resin in there without getting up and over and bulking that body, so I get that lovely taper. They're certainly usable, John. I know when we were in Canada fishing the North American loch style a couple of years ago, little perdigons and stuff were the way to go. So they do work. They work in stocked fish as well. So now we go back to our little brush, okay, and I go back into my resin. And I do the same process. Nice blob up near the head, drag it down the body. And work your way around that fly. Take your time, there's never a rush of resin. Like dubbing and like everything else, we always say less is more. Best thing about using a little brush like this, that if it happens I put too much on or any more, no, I wouldn't, Aidan. I've tried them with red ribs, too much. I think just keep it as simple as possible. And that's the one there. So if you add in a little bit too much, or something happens, just one tiny little micro hair sticking out there, and I can see it. Have a little bit of tissue paper on hand. You can simply just wipe your brush and remove any excess that you don't want, to make sure you get that nice taper. Once I've gone around, blasting my UV paint, giving it more than it needs, but that's just a personal thing. Happy with that. I'll give it another just a little coating up around the bead, just to make sure. It's just a little bit of a dip coming below that pearl into the body, and I just want to taper it off just that little bit better. So I'm just going to add another little dabble of that, and just make sure the fly is well sealed, that there's no little gaps. The lighting here, with the way I do these shows, is not 100%. If I was down on my voice below, it would make it a lot easier, and that's just to make it as good as I can for you guys to see. Happy enough for that. Give it another quick little shot, and there we go. Okay, little black killer, excellent little nymph. Really one that I use. How you doing, Dennis Golden? Black Robbie. I've tried them with silver and stuff. It's a black. This is one I'm using. I say I've already gone to the river probably with pheasant tails, maybe once, twice. It's half an hour to go, 15 minutes to go. I need that one more fish. I need something that's going to get down into those little thanks Kieran, thanks Graham, thanks Dick. But great stuff. How you doing, Stanley McCart? Nice to have you on with us there, Stanley. Thanks, Peter. But this is the one I'm doing on the third run through. I've got 10 minutes to go. I want to get that one more fish. It's a famous saying all those competition anglers use. Just get one more. And I'm looking in the box. I'm not going to go for something big and flashy. I'm going to go for something small, natural. It's this black bead. This is the one I'm going to take out. Okay, very simple little nymph. No real hot spot, but yet there's enough there. You put that down into a trout that's in his protective lie and put it right in his nose, he's going to suck that straight in. So I don't do it with silver beads or anything like that. It's just that's absolutely that's one for the box. So there we go. That's a great title for a book. If I ever write an nymph for a book now, if I ever write a nymph book or a book on flies, that's my title. One for the box. Now, I've said it here in the live show, no one's allowed to use that for a title for a book. If I ever decide to write a book, I'm going to say one for the box. So anyway, there we go, folks. That's another little Paragon. I got two more coming. One more very interesting one that's on using different style of tungsten beads, okay? One you really don't want to miss. I always save some of the good stuff to last. So make sure and check back with me here in a few minutes. We're going to head over now to the one and only Mr. Eamon Conway from Dundalk. Eamon is an Apguy cast instructor. One of the top competitive anglers in Ireland, has fished all over the world, does amazing stuff with his Talon fly rods. He's got a great YouTube channel, really great guy to have on. Known Eamon for years since he was a young lad, and great to have him on the show here, of course. Thank you, Eamon, for your time. We're going to be back with a few more nymphs in a few minutes. Don't forget, hit that share button if you want to be in to win all tonight's nymphs and a few nymphs that I've tried beforehand. Also, Dave is going to come along with our trivia quiz, so get those Google pages open, and we'll see who's going to win tonight. Tonight's prize, by the way, is going to be a lovely selection of microglint, which is a very popular material. There's 8 spools of different colour microglint there. Very popular material for tying Perdigons. That's going out to the winner of Dave's trivia. And don't forget to check out Adair Springs or the Irish Springs Angling Fair website to book your ticket as well and get into that draw. So anyway, without further ado, guys, Mr. Eamon Conway, and I'll see you all in a few minutes. How you doing, everyone? And welcome to another Tackle Talk here with us here at Pescari Fly. So tonight we have the pleasure of the one and only Mr. Eamon Conway from Ton Fly Fishing. Eamon is a several times national champion. He's competed on the Irish team a few times. I was lucky enough to captain him in Italy back in the World Championships before COVID, when we had a bit of normality. Eamon is also the only man in Ireland to hold 4 river titles in the same year. His 2 provincial titles, ITFA and Taffy, and the 2 national titles, ITFA Taffy, in the same season. Huge feat to achieve altogether. I think Brian Larkin came very close one year, but Eamon held out to be the only man to achieve that. So well done, Eamon. Eamon, you're very welcome to our live show. Huge thanks for giving up your time.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. You know, really
how was everyone up in Dundalk?
We're all good. We're just itching to get out on the river, you know.
Yeah.
First touch isn't long away, so just itching to get out. Time flies and stuff like that. Preparing, you know, yourself. So
right, yeah. I have great memories of Dundalk when I was a little bit younger, and Matt Campbell and the lads used to invite me up to do a little bit of demos for you guys up there. And I always remember young Eamon Conway leaning in over the desk, mad to learn, mad to get in the river to learn. So you've certainly managed to do a lot of that over the years.
Absolutely, yeah. And it was great. You know what? I often thought about this. It was great having you guys there, because to us in Dundalk, and for me anyway, you guys were the leaders in fly fishing. You know, like we looked up to like yourself and Pat Cullen and that, you know, when you had your shop there, and you used to bring your stuff up to us all the time.
Right, yeah, they were great weekends.
And you know, and you guys were the top guys, you know what I mean? Like,
well, we were good at talking anyway, Eamon. We were good at doing the talking.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was all about sharing. So how was last season for you, Eamon? How did you get on last season in general?
Yeah, we had a good start, but then up here, for some reason, we don't tend to get great water during the summer. It gets very, very low in the Fane. Right. But we sort of have to go elsewhere, look for water. If we get summer floods, there's a small river just out the road from us, comes off the mountain, and you know, a small bit of rain would put a flood in that, which is good. You know, it's a small mountain stream, so I fished that there. Gets a run of sea trout, which is very good.
Nice.
You know, start running in July, but yeah, great nymphing on that river. Very, very small river, but very good.
Right.
You know.
So it's mixed season overall, really, was it? Same as ourselves, the kind of back in the season crap.
Had to travel in the summer to the bigger rivers where there's more of a flow, you know. Then towards the end of the season, we got a bit of rain around August, which was great. We had some good days in August. But that time of year is always good anyway. I find it picks up August, September, and we have the last few days in October as well.
That's correct. You're late season closer. Yeah,
late season. So you know that the fishing is unbelievable, especially that time of year. Yeah, it really is.
You're not sick of it, but then.
Stop. You know, it's a funny kind of spot because our river straddles the border. You know, if you really wanted to be cheeky, you could cross the river and fish back right up until the 30th of October. You know, but at that stage, by the time of the 12th, you know, you've enough.
You've enough of it. So you're looking forward to the couple of months off.
That's it. You know, you're back in time, whatever. You know, but no, it is. I had a good enough season. Have to say, it was all right.
Right.
You know.
Do you miss the competitions, Eamon? I know the last couple of seasons you're a top level competitor angler. You travel anywhere for competition.
Yeah.
How important are those competitions? Say any angler, even an angler with your kind of experience, how important are those competitions for development, for socialization? You know, how much have you missed those over the last 3 seasons?
It's vital, I think, because you need your practice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's all well and good saying, you can go up to the river and practice, but you need to feel that pressure of competition. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Sort of, you know, just to get you ticking. You know what I mean? Get you going. You know.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to lose it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Of course.
But I think that the lads here they're mad for competition. Saying that, in fairness to yourself, Thomastown was a saviour.
Yeah, you know? We've been lucky enough to be able to get it over the line every year. Yeah.
That's it, which is great. So hopefully it sort of gives the associations a bit of a kick to get in gear and get some competitions. Hopefully
get going. It'd be great to have them back because it is also a great way to meet lads and, you know, have a bit of banter and you know, even likes to say controllers coming along to learn a bit and maybe become competitors as well. So we miss all that kind of meeting up. And
you do, you meet new guys, whatever, and then also the lads you've been on teams with previously, you know, you get a bit of a catch up and the crack's always good no matter what.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's plenty of bragging rights too with them. You know?
That's it too. Absolutely.
So Eamon, we've all watched loads of your videos. You've got a great YouTube channel there and stuff. We all know your achievements and the skill sets you have. It's been well documented over the years. So to begin, I suppose, to talking about nymphing, tonight's about perdigons and Euro-Nymphing and that kind of stuff. But for going back to the basics, looking before we get into that whole nymphing kind of discussion around nymphs and techniques and tactics and approaches and all that, looking at a setup, looking at your stereotypical setup of what you use on a day-to-day basis on the river when you go fishing, what kind of setup are you using?
Right. So my setup, because I'm on the fin, my rod would be a 10-foot. It's a 2-3. The tone endurance is my rod. I would have an automatic reel. These are probably common practice now for competition anglers. You know yourself, they are unbelievable. For and
you just we know, but what benefits do you find to those lever action reels? What's the
line control? Because for talk's sake, if you have a lot of line out, if you're say casting your nymphs up far, you know, when you're taking your line in to match the speed of the river, to prevent any loops or anything dragging around your gear, you know, you just one pump of the lever and your excess line is
tidy. Yeah.
So, and especially I find as well, if you're fishing away there, and you like from experience, before I was using these fishing away and catching fish, going over to the controller, and next you know you've line around your feet and
in the briars, everything. Yeah,
exactly. So you know, being on the river, it's great, but when you get over to the controller, you could be in long grass, right, like that. There, line gets caught around long grass, bushes, things like that. There, fences, you know. So this is a part of being in control all the time. So being in control of your line and your gear is essential. So that's why I think the automatic reels are a must for competitive anglers. But even if you're not competing, you know, it is really good to have, you know.
Yeah, it does make life a little bit easy.
Oh, it does, absolutely, you know. And
then on that reel, Eamon, what fly line are you using on that?
This is just, pull it off. It's just a normal, to be honest, this one here in particular, this is a regular weight forward put on backwards.
Okay, right.
Here, so it's put on backwards, and because the running line, it's like a Euro-Nymphing line, but for this one here, I have two setups. I have a heavy leader and a light leader.
Okay.
And I can explain them.
And when you're talking heavy leader, what size are you talking?
Right, so what I have on heavy leader, this is my heavy leader setup. So this is a shock leader.
Okay.
And it's onto my running line. So it is. And then on my other lighter leader, I have a thinner diameter running line.
Okay.
With a Euro-Nymphing leader that I have, it's a lesser diameter than the thicker one. So I have two setups. I have a heavy setup and a light setup. The reason for the heavy setup is
I'm going to ask you that. What's the reason? Yeah.
So the reason for the heavy setup is to cast heavier flies, but not only that, you can also dry fly fish with it. And in a heavier, say in a windier day, you can cast your flies better and more accurately with a heavier line than a lighter line, because the lighter line can't push the energy from the rod flies, to buck the wind, if you want to call it that,
I get you.
No. So that's why I do like the heavy one. People think I'm mad. It's because they're saying it's all about, thin lines and stuff. That's well and good. But
yeah, I agree totally with you, Eamon. It's not, it's all well and good to be in European countries and hot places, and, going down to 0.18. and I'd be very similar to your setup. Like I'd have maybe 3 or 4 reels at any one time in my box, and they would start at 0.30, maybe 0.35, and work their way down to 0.20, 0.18. An awful lot of time I find myself, especially in Irish conditions, fishing Irish windy rivers, going to the heavier tip, going to the heavier leader for control and accuracy.
That's it. It's just for precision, because yourself, how I fish, like I try to break down the river into as many pieces as possible. So if you can get your fly into one area with one cast rather than 4 casts,
okay,
so you have more time to have your flies in the water. So if that spot fished, nothing there, move on to the next one. And when I say one spot, it could be a patch of water streaming down the river. It might only be 6 inches wide.
Yeah.
I'm saying, or casting your flies in behind a rock, let it come down past, nothing there, move on to the next place. So precision is key for me. Do you know what I mean? To be able to fish quicker. So less cast, more time to
rather than throw 2 or 3 casts, miss the target, and then on the 4th cast get it in. You've just wasted 4 casts.
That's it. And not only that, if you're taking 3 or 4 casts to hit your target, you're splashing the water, you're spooking trout. For talk's sake, if a leaf hits the river, falls off the tree and hits the river, it flows away naturally. Leaves don't hit the water 3 or 4 times. And I'm not comparing the flies to trees, but do you know what I'm saying? It's a disturbance that's not,
might work in your favor. Yeah.
So less disturbance, it's precision. That's the key, I think.
And when you get to the bottom of your leader, what sort of length leaders are you fishing, Eamon?
So the length of the leader, what I do is I cut the leader to exactly 12 feet. So it gives me 8 foot the other side of it for my indicator tippet, and then my normal tippet, which I go down to about 0.10 and probably 0.08 at the lightest, And
what sort of lengths? What sort of lengths do you put, say, from your indicator to your dropper, and then from the dropper to the point?
Yeah, well, the indicator tippet's roughly about 18 inches, and then after that, there, I don't have measured. I literally just probably an arm's length, a wee bit more from the indicator to the first fly, and then literally a short arm's length to the dropper. But it has to be obviously within the 50
within
centimeter.
the FIPS most rules. Yeah. And is there a time when you will change that dimension, whether you go to low water, deeper water, or is it just always that general good feeling that you have?
It's sort of a general good feeling. Most of the rivers I fish, you see, are like the Fane is, most parts are up to your knees. And like in the summertime, you can be catching fish in probably 6 inches of water. So, this is where, I don't think you need the big, the light tippet going from your indicator back to the rod. I think if you have a good tapered leader, it'll give you that precision. Then the business end, beyond the indicator tippet, that's where you want the fine tippet, you know.
Right, I get you. Fluorocarbon monofilament. Fluorocarbon.
And I like the fluoro. That a couple of different brands. I actually got some Hannock indicator off you there last year, and I found it very good. It was actually all right.
Yeah, it's a Hannock indicator is pretty good. Yeah.
Sorry, not the indicator did.
The fluorocarbon. Right. Okay. Yeah. It's popular. Some of the most popular ones would be the Hannock and the Solerini would be very popular tippets for fluorocarbon, of course.
Yeah, and like I like the fluorocarbon because of its rigidness, you know.
Right.
I find it better for casting. The same again, precision over mono, because mono tends to flop. You know,
it can. Yeah.
And sort of the way that the flies can sort of, you know, take control over, you know, what the rod's actually doing. If you have sort of that soft spot in the middle, you know.
Yeah. So I suppose before we just move to tactics and start talking about how you approach rivers and stuff like that, just looking at, say, you know, you've got your setup there done, and then it's time to put on some nymphs. What's your preference when it comes to nymphs, Eamon? You know, when we're looking at kind of size, shape, it's kind of hard stuff for words to get the right kind of question across to you. But let's start with, how much in your experience, does the body matter over, let's say, the size of bead and the color of the bead? What's more important for you there?
I think, you hit a good question there. I believe now, personally, if you're tying, especially with perdigons, and I suppose some other flies as well, I think you need to put a taper in your body, cone shape in your body. Because if you look at some of the wee nymphs under the rocks there, they have a nice little taper on their body, you know what I mean? There's some of them, like, it's okay if you're tying a larvae of a caddis, they're fairly sort of straight in the cylinder, you know what I mean? But when it comes to wee mayflies and things like that there, you know, olives, their bodies are tapered. So for me, when I'm tying my perdigons, there has to be a taper on it, you know?
Right.
And what I do is, when I'm tying the bodies in, I would go down the body and I would unwrap the thread so it goes flat again. You understand what I'm saying? And then come back up the body and go halfways down, or say 3/4 way down, back up, and then halfways back up, quarter ways, and back up. And you have this lovely, lovely taper create, you know, and then just finish it off then with your UV resin, and it's just unbelievable.
And would size matter? Like, would you choose, say, a size 12 over a size 14 or size 16 or size 18 for any other particular reason rather than the size of the bead you can get onto it? Like, would there be a time where you would fish small beads on big long hooks, a longer shank hook, or what way is your bead choice versus hook choice?
The majority of my beads are 2.5s. I do a lot of fish with 2.5s. That's probably my go-to diameter, you know. Sometimes I'll have to go to a 3, maybe a 3.5, depends where I'm fishing, but the majority of the time, 2.5 is. And
do you like a short body or a long body, a longish kind of body behind that bead?
Like, my preference, size 14s. The 301s, the hikus.
Yeah, my next question is going to be jig hook versus standard shank hooks. I know from sending them up to you at your standard, and you know, and when you look at perdigons, like, show us a bit of perdigons well, and if you look at the historical context of perdigons, the Spanish and those Pyrenees anglers, you know, it was standard hooks that was originally designed for, and a lot of those top level competitive anglers, they don't tie their perdigons on jig hooks.
No, they don't. But listen, it works. Yeah. But I'll tell you, the first perdigon I would have seen, we were fishing the European Championships in 2015, and we were tying perdigons on jig hooks. You know, that was my sort of first time I was introduced to perdigons, you know. And after that there, I decided 2016, I said, I'm going to give these boys a go and see how well they do, you know. And once I started tying them, improved there, something serious, you know.
And what do you feel is the advantage of fishing perdigons over?
If you like,
what do you feel is the advantage of fishing perdigons over the likes of pheasant tails and stuff. What gives you that extra boost and a bit of confidence putting on the perdigon in?
It's like a stone going to the bottom. They're so hydrodynamic in the way they're made, you know what I mean? Like they're not bushy. The bushy material catches catches in the water on the way down. It's like a wee parachute, where perdigons are like stones. Just go straight down and they get to where you want them instantly, you know. Now,
do you always want your perdigons on the bottom, in the bottom kind of?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Depends, because I remember 2016 in Thomastown, I was fishing 2.5 mil beads, and I was casting them upstream with white flies, and the fish were taking them literally at the top sort of foot and a half layer of water, you know, where I was talking to other guys that day, and they were using like 3.5s, and they weren't getting much, where, you know, these guys, they weren't too heavy. Like, I know how to manipulate them, get them down, but yet, you know how to use them at a certain depth as well. You know, there's loads of different, you just have to be able to manipulate them. But sometimes, get them on the bottom when they need to be. Early season, absolutely. Later in the year, you know, not so heavy. Up in the surface is okay. Right.
And how important is contact to those nymphs for you when you're fishing? Let's say when you're fishing 3 or 4 foot water and you're only fishing 2.5 mil beads, you know, what are you doing there to help with contact to see those takes? Or are you dead sticking or high sticking? Or what's your kind of approach with once those nymphs enter the water?
Literally, well, in that depth of water, I might just throw on a 3 on the point, just on the 2.5 on the dropper, and see where the fish are. But I would literally, for that depth of water, I'd be casting my line up. That's where that heavy leader comes in, because I can put them right up there, you know, and that sort of beats the lighter leader, because you're restricted to how far you can cast. But anyway, back to the question. Cast it way up, gives it time to sink, and obviously taking it in like a dry fly, you know, as the leader comes to you, and just holding it. But keeping the contact is key, because you need to feel everything. You need to know if you'll be able to feel the flies hitting off the rocks in the bottom, you know.
Of course.
But it's funny, because on our river, I don't know, sometimes you probably see it in the Nore as well. When you cast your flies in, the fish will grab them on the drop. As well as the drift. So like your possibility of catching a fish on the drop, on the drift, and also as the flies are coming up from the bottom, you know, I remember fishing on the Nore there. You're up to your chest in water, your flies are drifting through, nothing, and next they're coming behind you. You're sort of letting them swim. You know, like a bit of a wet fly drift, you know, and as they're rising, the fish are going for it. So, you know, you've sort of 3 ways of getting fish, you know, all in one cast.
Absolutely, yeah. So when approaching a river, you know, you set up your rod and stuff like that, Eamon, and you're approaching a piece of river. You're selected your 2 nymphs that you're going to start off with. What are you looking for, or what's your starting point of a piece of water? Do you just get in and, as you mentioned earlier on, you break it down into pieces? Are you breaking those pieces down into the hot spots? So there's definitely fish there, there's definitely fish there, there's definitely fish there. Or are you getting in at the bottom and systematically working it up through, or what way do you approach your piece of water?
In a competition perspective, I always, you know, some people are different, but I like to get in at the bottom and work my way up, because I find that sometimes when you look at a hot spot, it's not that hot at all, and you tend to get, sometimes it could be completely, you know, you think it's a hot spot, and you'll actually get the fish in a place where you'd literally not even think of casting. So that's where I believe, if you get in at the bottom and work your way up, do you know what I mean? Different wee pieces, up and across, move up, and then work out and back, you know, the whole way up. And then you can pick out your wee spots on the way up as well, if there's any small side holes or runs or anything like that there, you know.
And of course, doing that kind of approach, you're potentially keeping the fish ahead of you in the catching zone as well, by pushing them up the river.
Oh, that's it. Your best approach is coming from behind them. But fishing is so funny, because ironically, you'll still catch the guys that you walk past. The guys that you'll catch fish behind you, even though you walk past them. It's so, you know, everybody talks about upstream nymphs and all this kind of stuff, but yet you'll still get the guys below you. You know, it's predictive sometimes, you know.
Yeah. And is there kind of places then that you would, or is it a thing when you're in a session that you would, as you're making your way up to that river and you hit maybe unknown or unknown potential hotspot where you pick off 3 or 4 fish quickly, will you recycle that? Will you leave that spot and move up river and think with the plan to come back and recycle it, or would you fish it out literally till there's nothing left? Is there a time when you'll kind of move through, or is that
I like
something?
to try and get to fish the whole beat at least once and go back to the spots where the fish are, because once you fish your whole beat, you know where the fish are. You just have to go back and let them rest, And not only that, you mightn't get every one of them, So if you pull a fish out and you bring them, say, over to your controller, so we presume they're going to go back over to their lie. If they don't, another fish could move in where the dominant fish is gone out of, and you might get the other fish, So it's hard to know because we can't see underwater. It's hard to know, but it's just judgment. Do you know what I mean?
And would you rotate your flies now? If you go back into the same spot, if you went through a spot with, say, a black perdigon and got a couple of fish out of it, and you're coming back for the second time, would you consider changing the bead color or something to give them something different, or are you quite happy just to run the same nymphs through?
Give them something different, because by the second or third session, whatever competition you're fishing, they've seen a lot of stuff. So definitely just change your fly and see what happens, And if you're doing nothing, just changing,
Yeah.
But I find not just changing patterns, but change your sizes. I was going to say, when I'm approaching the river, sometimes people say you're mad having 2 of the same flies on, but I've 2 of the same flies on, just different sizes. You know what I mean? And then you'll see yourself which fly works better, the bigger one or the smaller one. How many patterns would you bring to a competition in your fly box? You're rocking on there now the morning at Leinster's or Thomastown. How many patterns are in your box realistically? Do you know what? Hey, not a lot. Guys there, and they're probably laughing at me going, you haven't much flies. I know you do need to have a change of flies, but I think if you get caught up with so many patterns, don't get me wrong, some patterns do work better than others in different scenarios, but just a couple of good patterns that that work, because you need that confidence going into a competition as well. There's no point going there with flies you're not sure of, because you're wasting your money. You're wasting your time, you're wasting your effort. You need to be going with flies. I have a handful of flies there I know work, and they do the business for me most of the time.
And that's part of, I suppose, setting up for competitions. How important, Eamon, to you is setting up for a tournament? Like, how much attention would you give to your details weeks coming into that competition as regards preparation, training, whatever it may be?
Like, sometimes if I'm lucky, I get a practice session. If I'm not so lucky, I'd try and get out to the river the day beforehand. So I'll have my rod set up for that particular competition. I'll have my leaders redone, boiled, the whole lot, ready to go. Go out to the river, catch a few fish, make sure everything's above board, the knots are, the joints from the leader to the flight, everything's correct. Nothing's going to break, because the last thing you want starting in the session is something to go wrong. So
absolutely,
go wrong the day before, fix it, and then go into the competition. So have a small practice session on your local river beforehand if you can't make it to the main venue. And so it gives you it's like you the way sometimes I used to go to competitions and you wouldn't have any practice the day before. It might be a week before you've fished. And you might drop that first fish.
Oh, you'll be a bit rusty. Yeah, or you'll stick it in the first tree. A good one of my one is I'll stick it in the first tree I see, even if it is half a mile away from you. I'll stick it straight into that tree.
That's it. And you have to sort of like hitting the ground running. You're in the zone straight away from that first fish,
It's vital, because you do only have a 3-hour window, and you've got to maximize every second in that 3 hours, don't you?
Exactly, yeah. And that's it. It's just about using everything you have, flies in the water as much as you can, fish as much of that water as possible, because I try to explain it sometimes to people where, imagine the river having, a million boxes or pigeonholes, and it's like putting your hand into each pigeonhole, checking. Some people don't put their hands into all the pigeonholes to check, see if they're there. You know what I'm saying? So they'll put their hand into the same pigeonhole, and what I mean by that is they'll keep throwing into the same run, you gotta check them all. Because you don't, and you know yourself, trout will lie where you're walking.
Absolutely, yeah.
You don't realize that.
Absolutely. And is there any kind of stuff that you would do prior to a competition, or even at the start of a session or mid-session, kind of little prep things? I have little things I do here and there just to set myself up, or get the mind, maybe if I lose a fish or drop a fish or something like that. Little mechanisms I use. What little mechanisms do you have before or even during a session to kind of set yourself or get yourself into that zone?
Yeah, it was just make sure everyone's set up. Make sure you have your beat walked. You know, you have a good plan in your head. And then once you get into it, sometimes if you lose the run of yourself, if you're going too fast, you sort of just have to stop and take a bit of a breath and say, cop on, just focus. The amount of times I had to tell myself that, and just keep going. It's amazing. But you just remain positive, keep going. And
remain positive, and stick to the plan. Would you make a game plan, Eamon? Would you have a plan in your head coming down in the car, and that's your game plan? Now, obviously, of course, it can vary a little bit when you ride to a river, but you have a general game plan. You try and stick to that.
Yeah, I suppose I'm after saying just get in at the bottom, fish it all, and go back to good spots. And sometimes I get very quick at fishing, and it's a combination from fishing the ITFFA and the taffy. The ITFFA, you have to run up the river and all that mad stuff.
I remember the last ITFFA I fished in the Dodder. We were in the same group, and Tony Doherty was controlling me. I don't know who was controlling you. I'm not sure. I think it might have been Noel O'Neill. But every now and again, we had a rustling in the bushes on the path behind us, and it was you just gone by in a flash. And then 2 minutes later, Noel O'Neill would be coming pumping down the river, and you'd be gone. This was happening regularly. No, it wasn't. I hadn't fished that many ITFA competitions, but I remember I was thinking to myself, my God, he's just a machine running up and down that river, getting in now fishing spot, pick up fish here, pick up fish there, pick up fish there. So your fitness levels
can drive you crazy at the same time, and that's what I was saying. If you use the ITFFA mentality in a taffy competition, you'll probably fish or beat 100 times. Where with the taffy, you need to slow down and just relax and
work your way through your water.
Yeah, because nobody can come into your beat or anything like that. There, where the other setup, you have to it's a dog match. You just have. I
remember that day seeing you at halftime, and buckets of sweat was coming down. We were in the Dodder, and the buckets of sweat were coming down. I was thinking, I'm not fit enough to do this. There's no way I'm going to keep up with him. It was funny. Myself and Doherty had a good laugh. Every now and again we'd hear you shooting past, and then a minute or two later, Noel O'Neill would come pandering up around.
But that's it. And sometimes you do have to fish that rate, because there was a competition here in the Fane. It was one of the Leinsters I won there a couple of years ago, and it took out the first session, I had something not the first session, but the 2 morning sessions, I think I had something like 43 trout.
Wow.
But I just had to keep going and fishing. There was it was crazy. I think at the end of the day, I had 72 trout for first place. And, sometimes you do have to go to that rate, but that mightn't do you on a taffy competition. You need to slow down, and because you could just ruin your whole beat.
Of course.
So I made the mistake sometimes of doing that, and I'd mess the whole beat up, and you sort of have to learn from your mistakes too. And that's what I find as well, that how I learn things is by just trying hard stuff. Some people, there's that wee Flurry River out beside me is overgrown full of trees, and nobody fishes it, and it's full of fish, and I have it all to myself because nobody wants to go in and try and fish it because it seems too hard. That's the only way you're going to get good, is do hard stuff.
Yes.
I'm not saying
challenge yourself and get yourself out of the comfort zone.
Exactly. Push yourself, do stuff that other people won't, and you'll find your skill level will just go up, Yeah.
And so if you were giving advice to someone starting off, someone's watching tonight and they're thinking about getting into tournament fishing, they're already in tournament fishing, or they're into Euro-Nymphing and they want to improve, well, that would be kind of, some of the advice you'd give to them. Is there any other advice you'd give to someone starting out, kind of where to start, or how best to get into it? Or
there's so many people out there like myself and yourself. There's so many clubs out there that are so willing to help, you know.
Yeah.
And definitely give us a shout, and we can point you in the right direction and give you some sort of training or whatever, you know.
Yeah, because there is an awful lot of stuff on YouTube, and some of it can be a bit daunting. It can be a bit misleading, whatever it may be. But yeah, get you know, you mentioned a really important thing there too is join a club. You know, there's normally a couple of guys in every club that will help new members out.
That's right. You know, for a long time there, Matt Campbell was the man there here in Dundalk. He literally brought the club on. From what I can see, we had a lot of good youth anglers there. Now seniors, you know, at one stage I think our club made up half the Irish team at one stage.
That's right. Youths,
you
know,
it was crazy, and fair play to Matt, you know.
Oh yeah, Matt, Fred O'Hagan, all those guys. There was a whole bunch of guys in your club.
Just a bunch of guys there, you know. Yeah, it was crazy. But definitely, if you're interested in competition fishing, join a club, an affiliated club, to an organization, and you know, just go out there, meet the guys or whatever. Go to the competitions. You don't have to go to win. Just go to the competition for the experience. Like my whole thing was years ago, and you're probably the same. Go to the Leinsters, catch a fish. Don't care win, lose or draw, catch a fish, because it gets you to the All Irelands.
Qualified.
Hopefully, you can do the business there. Yeah, and that's what it's all about. Get onto the Irish team. Never mind winning. Get onto the Irish team, and that's it. That's a goal in itself.
Better yourself from that stage then, like, as you do. You know, we've travelled together. Our last trip was in Italy. Thank God we got that one in before the COVID. What a trip it was! Yeah. But like, you know, you learn so much of these championships, these international championships.
Really. Yeah, like there, 2008, I went to the American Cup with the Irish team. And you know what? Like, I used to think I was great, and I wasn't nowhere near it. And you know, I remember watching these guys, Polish guys over there, and going, what the hell are these guys at? Because it was all new to me. All I was doing was try dropping and wet flies and dries, and these guys are whipping trout in front of me, and I'm going, I'm not even in these guys' league, you know what I mean? Crazy. And then even at the World Championships there in 2018, I thought I was good. I'm not as good as what I should be. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's a good thing, though. I mean, as a personal point, you know, and people can get very, and I'm hugely guilty of this too. When you're fishing your own piece of river, when you're fishing the same piece of water for the same trout, you know where they are, and you become very comfortable in a zone. And then when you get outside of that zone or that comfort zone, you go to a new piece of river, you go to these larger tournaments, or when you do qualify for a team, you find actually, you know, geez, I have a lot of learning to do. So it's a very good point to make that even as someone as skilled as yourself, you would still admit to yourself that, you know, there's no end game here. You've got to keep working. You've got to keep improving. You've got to keep your head down, work hard, read, research, watch YouTubes, travel, whatever it may be, to try and keep, you know, keep up there, keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Just, you know, if you want to get good, just keep pushing yourself and learn new stuff, you know, like it's crazy. I remember the first time when I seen Nymphing, it was some guy called Peter, some Polish guy.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And I can't think of his second name, but the way he was nymphing, his line was literally monofilament. It looked like he was fishing with worms, and he was flicking it up. He was using the weight of the nymph to cast, you know, and he had his droppers above it, and he was just, it was like he was trotting worms down the river. And I'm looking at this going, this is deadly. You know, I want to do some of that. So I couldn't change my rig mid-competition, because no point trying to learn something in the middle of a competition. So I just stuck to what I knew, came home, tried it on the fin. I'm like, holy jeez, this is unbelievable. So I went from using straight mono the whole way down, you know, just flinging these nymphs out of control, you know what I mean? Trying to get them somewhere where and they're landing everywhere but the place you want them to go. And once I got them in the river and I got them fishing, I was catching. So I goes, right, this is brilliant. You know, so then I decided, right, it's out of control here. Use some sort of tapered leader, get some control in your flies. And that's where I sort of found, I was actually building my own leaders, using 60-pound breaking string. So I'd go, say out of 1 unit of leader, 60% would be the heavy stuff, 20 and 20. So let's get, that'd be the ratio, you know. And it was working. And I'm like, Jesus, these knots are getting caught in the tip of the rod, you know yourself, big bulky knots. So I went to shock leaders then, and they were a godsend. Right. So was using shock leaders then. I was sort of saying, right, well, I need a lighter setup now. I have a shock leader. I need something lighter. So that's when I found the lighter Euro-Nymphing leaders as well. So I go.
What diameter is your lighter rig in? What diameter is that generally?
It only goes. The butt end is about, I'd say, 20 pound, roughly 25 pound breaking strain. You know. Yeah. Which is it's plenty. You know. So if I wasn't fishing on a windy day, harsh conditions, the light leader is perfect. You know. Yes. We're sort of bigger venue, heavier winds or whatever, heavier flies, use the heavier leader, you know. Right.
Okay. I get you. Yeah. So before we finish up, we ask everybody this, kind of everyone that will be on or that is beyond the show with us here. Top tips, Eamon. Now you've give a lot now tonight. Now I know it'll be hard to think of anything original, but what would be, if you were to sit down now and write out your 3 top tips for any kid or guy that's going forward from here, that's after writing a load of notes of what you've already saying, what would be the 3 most important top tips? That's an absolute must now. I mean, these are no gray areas here. This is black and white, folks. So, you know, this is do's and don'ts. What would be your top 3 do's and don'ts?
A good one, I think, get a mentor.
Right.
You know, get a mentor, somebody like myself, yourself there, and pick their brain, maybe even try and get out in the river with them, because, you know, to learn something over a year or 2 might get you to click. The likes of myself or yourself would probably have it down in an hour or 2. You know what I mean? Okay. Which that's probably, you know, it's vital. You know,
absolutely, as you say,
great, but it's not to be all. You need to see it firsthand. You know. Yeah. And that's one of the main tips. But definitely, second tip: push yourself, educate yourself. It's all about information. Really, it really is an experience. You know, time in the water, get out there, get the flies wet. Yeah, you know, crucial, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it really is. You know, like it's crazy the amount of hours I'd say yourself and myself spend on the water.
How many hours an average week game during a fishing season? How many hours a week are you putting in on the river? How many times will you go to the river?
If I get one full day on the river and then probably a session or 2 here or there during the week, I'm blessed I have a river right beside me, so I can leave the house in the waders and land at the river, you know, and I'm fishing within 10 minutes, you know. So it's good in that sense there, get an hour or 2 there. But I like to say get to the Annalee or maybe the Boyne or something like that. They're somewhere different, you know, on those days, and then obviously a bit of filming and stuff like that there as well, you know. But I try and get to different rivers. Yeah, during the week. And of course, if anybody wants to get in touch with Eamon mentioned about film there. Eamon has a great YouTube channel. What's the name of your YouTube channel, Eamon? Prawn Fly Fishing.
Prawn Fly Fishing, where Eamon puts up a lot of videos there, a lot of footage of his techniques and stuff like that. So make sure you check out that. And if anybody wants to get in touch with Eamon, it's prawnflyfishing.com, Eamon, is it?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, if anybody wants to get in touch with Eamon and pick his brain a bit. I think someone asked on the Facebook post today, someone was asking, would you give up the top hotspots for the River Fane? Someone was asking, any chance Eamon will share all the hotspots for the River Fane? So actually, his name is...
What's that?
His name is actually, I'm missing his name now in my brain at the moment. It might come to me in a second, but yeah, someone was looking for all the hotspots, Eamon. But see, the only problem, if Eamon gives you the hotspots, folks, he probably has them all fished out anyway, because he's probably been there before you. So,
well, that's it. You either have to catch up with either myself, Shane, or Hubert, you know, because we have them all cleared out. You know, to be honest, the Fane's a great river. Look, it doesn't matter where you go in the Fane, you're going to catch fish, and that's just it. You know,
it's a place I haven't. I tell you, Eamon, it's a place I haven't fished. I fished a lot as a young lad going up there to your club, and these were very good and very welcoming. And I know it's a great club to welcome visiting anglers. But it's a place I haven't been to in a few years, and it's definitely on my to-do list now very soon.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to come up, surely.
It's a fantastic river, great headed trout in it, and great club up there.
Yeah. No,
okay. Well, look at Eamon. We're going to leave it there for tonight. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I hope anybody that wants to get in touch with Eamon, his details are there. You'll find him on Facebook and on YouTube. Make sure you check out his videos. And I'm going to head upstairs now, folks, and tell you another couple of nymphs. And we'll see you all back there in a second. Thanks a million, Eamon. Happy New Year to yourself and the family. And we'll touch base soon. So we're back. We're back. Thank you very much, Mr. Eamon Conway from Tawn Fly Fishing. What a great interview. Really enjoyed that chat with Eamon, and judging by your comments, think everyone took can take something from that little interview there. Thanks, Eamon, for giving us up your time. Don't forget to check out Eamon on www.tawnflyfishing.com if anyone wants to pick his brain a bit more or pick up some good rods and stuff like that. It's great to have such a great base of knowledge here in this country and guys that are willing to come on here on Saturday nights and share. Absolutely, Alan. Absolutely. I was thinking the same thing. I was just behind there tidying up a few rods and stuff like that, and I was listening to the interview and I listened to it twice. And now I tell you one thing, wish there was a competition tomorrow. Next week, next Sunday, Alan, in the AWOL Winter League now, there'll be a fair level rise in temperature there and preparation stuff. But yeah, you do. Brilliant. It gives you a great cheese to get back at it. Like Eamon's such an enthusiastic competition angler. And I've seen him in action and he's just buzzing with energy. He's just raring to go. Nothing's going to stop him. Great angler. Thanks very much, Eamon, for sharing. Because it's great to have these guys on to come on and share. So I hope he's all enjoyed that one. Yeah, well, he's a good guy. So anyway, we're going to move on to the last couple of nymphs that I have for you folks. Time is ticking on. That was a little bit longer than I planned, but I said I'd let it play and let's just enjoy it. It was a good interview. So we're going to move on to a little quill, strip quill perdigon here. One I find very good in a little bit of dark or coloured water. And it's really one worth having. I'm sure Dave is going to be on with his question there now shortly. Don't forget to share the stream if you want to be into Winter Night's Nymphs. And the online ticket sales are up and running for the Irish Spring Angling Fair, which is happening in the 30th of April. The 1st of May, it's going to be a fantastic fishing event for everybody. Lots of different trade stands and everything there. It's going to accommodate sea anglers, coarse anglers, game anglers, lots of talks and demonstrations. I have a fair idea of the lineup. It hasn't been all released yet, so I can't give away too much. But trust me, folks, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be a fantastic angling show. So just as I did with all the previous ones, I have a G-Hook here in device. This time I'm going to a G-Hook. I have a G-Hook size 14 with a 3.5mm slotted bead on it. And again, I am building up that taper before I go down anywhere near that butt of that hook. As Eamon said, get that nice taper on it. Noel O'Neill, I'll never forget myself and the daughter, the first name is gone from me now for a second. I'll think of him in a minute. Not Peter, but well, he was controlling me, and he'd hear Eamon would just go by in a flash in the middle of a session, running to get to his next spot to get in and get it, be as efficient as possible. And poor old Noel would be coming up behind him there, and I think he was under a bit of pressure. I think anyone would be under a bit of pressure at that stage. But yeah, it just shows the level of dedication you got to put into this tournament fishing, the level of aim and takes it to is, and look at it, he's got his results. Just you can't take it away from it. A little bit of the dark cocktail in this one. So the trade I'm using here is the under trade is the Globe-Right number 6, or not the Globe-Right number 6, Tommy Fly number 6, of course. Tommy Fly as always. Very simple little nymph. Nothing too special about it, but another great little perdigon that I say works really well for me. A bit of coloured water, or if it's on a nice dark day and I want something with that bit of brightness in it. Just add in again being very calculated with my turns of trade down near the butt, not to over build the butt of that body. Top section needs another little bit of a build, and a taper. That's pretty good. Thanks, Vincent. And happy birthday, Vincent. Vincent Kelly's on with us there from all the way from County Limerick, I think, Vincent, am I right? Down there in Kilmallock. So now I'm just winding this quill up the body. And as you can see, I'm just trying my best to leave very subtle little gaps between the quill and the thread. Very minimal. This is where you need a very flat underbody. Just to allow that little bit of... There's Dave is on with his question there, folks. I'm going to concentrate on what I'm doing because otherwise I'll make a mess here. But Dave is on there with his question. Make sure answer first, or I think, I'm not sure Dave has the rules up, whatever it is. Now, there we go. As you can see, I've left just subtle little gaps in between the quill and the each turn of quill, should I say. So that little underbody just barely comes through, okay? This is, a perdigon I tie for kind of coloured water. I just simply put on a little yellow, a little thorax there of the same body thread. Whip finish, can't get much simpler, but that thing is lethal in a bit of coloured water. Lovely brightness off of that Tommy fly. It's such an intense colour. And that's, by the way, the quill I used there was fluorescent yellow. Polish quills, fluorescent yellow. Really, really good. You're very welcome, Vincent, and great to have you on with us here tonight. Great to see you there. I hope everyone in Kilmallock is keeping well. Okay, a little bit of resin on here now again. Again, as before. Now, of course, this time you've got that hole in the slotted bead to cater for, okay? So that little bit of a hole up there and at the very top, okay? I'm going to show you what I like to do with that now in a second. So I start, decent blob at the top, stroke it back down, make sure it's well covered, everything's well covered. Again, I tried and tested nymph for many years, and I say it's a go-to one for me, a nice bit of colour, or just a dark old day, and you want that bit of, you need the advantage of a perdigon, but I also want that bright yellow. So I'm just going to put another bit up there at that, the hole in the slot, and set it. So basically I filled it with clear resin for the moment. Now it might be a little gap there when I set it, it might have sank in a bit or whatever, and I'll put another bit in there till I get it fairly full, okay? Set it well, perfect. There you can really see that little subtle yellow coming through there now. Lovely. I just had the voice pulled away a bit from the camera, so I lost a little bit of again, going to go back to me. Dave will let me know. See, a lot, I guess it's coming in there for gape and bend and stuff like that. Dave will let me know who wins that. So again, go to our black. Make sure less is more when you're doing that. And the second that resin gets on that hook, flip it over. If you don't, it's gone. Okay, so it'll come down over the side and take away from your nymph. Thanks, Tony. And there you go. You see our lovely little black hot spot, yellow underneath. Good question, Patrick McCarthy. What do I clean my brush with? Because resin doesn't set unless it gets hit by the pen or gets hit by UV light. So where my tying desk is and where I keep all my UV resins is in a dark corner. So there's never really a need to clean it. If I want to clean that now, just a little bit of a build up or something, I'll take a piece of tissue paper and I'll wipe it. Okay, I've been using that particular brush now for over a year and I've never cleaned it once. Now, if I need to clean it, if I feel it's got a bit of colour on it or something, or I used a bit of mica powder, say, and I coloured up a resin or something like that, and I wanted to get it back clean, I use a bit of acetone. Okay, we sell it in our shop as well, so you can go online onto the website there and buy acetone. But other than that, it just stays in the dark corner and never creates a problem. But if I want a little bit of tissue paper, give it a wipe off, perfect every time. Okay, as long as you don't hit with the pen or doesn't see UV resin, thank Joseph, doesn't see UV resin, well then, or UV light, should I say, well then it's not going to set on you. So I very rarely have to clean it. But if I do, it's acetone. We sell it in the shop. If anybody's looking for any of the resins or acetones or any of that kind of materials, we have it all in the shop downstairs, folks. Call down, go onto the website, www.scaryfly.com, or if you got some spare time, we love people dropping into us here. Okay, come down and see us here in Thomastown. Season will be along here shortly. Good question on Dylan. What size range of hooks do you tie perdigons? So that'd be the biggest. That'd be one of the biggest ones I do, and that's a 14 jig hook. Am I right? No, that's a 16 jig hook. So that'd be as big as I get, 3.5 mil. I'll go from there right down. 14 on a 301 would be as big as I get with a 3.5 mil. 14 on a 301 for the straight shanks hooks. That take a 3.5 mil right down to size 20s. Basically, that covers me. It depends on the look. I like that look. little bit of a larger bead, nice taper body back from it. Sometimes you want to look at maybe a smaller bead, so I might put a 3mm on a size 14 or size 16 jig, depends what it is, and get that longer, slender taper. It depends. Do I set? No, I don't, Kevin. I don't. I tell you where I buy that. I go into my local art shop and I just pick up a pack of 5. I think they cost me about €2.50 for a pack of 5. I think I bought them 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm on my second brush. You can see how fine that tip is. That's the fine tip you want, folks. Go into your local, I know Jones's Business Systems sell them, Art and Heavy shop sell them. No, Saul, you can buy something that already has beads or a lead kind of bead on the hook. To stay away, don't waste your money. Buy the hooks, buy the quality tungsten beads. We sell really good quality tungsten beads here online. So give us a shout here if you're looking for stuff, and you won't waste your money. But you know, a really fine tip little brush like that saves really good. We don't sell them here, but that's the best place I get them. I get them in Kilkenny, saying the Art and Hobby Shop or in Jones's Business System. And they're pretty much a national chain, so you'll get them there. Okay, folks, down to the last one. This one has a little bit of a difference about it. I love this one. This is a real little one. I haven't showed too many people this one, so this is going to be a bit novel for some people. We got a jig hook again in the vise. We're going to put a little bit of first thing we're going to do is we're going to check our Javi bead. This one's got a Javi bead in it for that little bit of extra weight, a little bit of extra punch. And I'm going to check my Javi bead to make sure it's the right size that's going to suit this hook. Okay, nothing worse than putting super glue on there first. Put on the Javi bead, realize, crap, that's too big or it's too small. Okay, have a look at it. I'm going to be happy with that size. It's going to suit it because everything gets mixed up now and again, you know. Little bit of Zappa Gap just up there in the knuckle of that hook. Thanks, Jim. And we're going to place that Javi bead in onto that. Now I can tie Javi beads not just on, get it into position very quick before that sets. Not just on on jig hooks, but you can also tie Javi beads onto curved hooks as well, like, you know. Tom Ankertel won. Well done, Tom. Congratulations, Tom. I'll get that. Absolutely, Graham Richards. Tom, I'll get that pack of microglint off to you in the post Monday. And well done. Now, once that's set a little bit, and we make sure it's not going to go anywhere. Now, there's a problem when we're tying with Javi beads that drives me nuts. Why they never continue the knuckles down on the back end of this bead here? I would just, I don't know. It can drive you nuts. You can be putting on thread there, slip and sliding the whole time. It can drive you bananas. What I do is I put on a little bit of super glue or Zappa Gap. Use a lot of Zappa Gap. And just brush a little bit of Zappa Gap on there. Okay? Onto the back of that bead. Start off. Now, what I'm using here is I'm using it is Hen's Body Quill Olive. I think it's 22. And I start turning there. Not in the top 2 knuckles, but you see, and I started in the second 2 knuckles below. Okay, and then quickly before that Zappa Gap sets, I will put a couple of turns down on that smooth part of that tungsten bead, or that's Javi bead, and that'll stop everything from slipping from now on. Yeah, so basically what you do, Peter, is what I do is an old carpenter's trick. If your Zappa Gap is glued, if you take off your Zappa Gap, all right, or any super glue with a brush, and you're brushing, as you can see me doing it, but if you don't do it down the bottle, take off your excess, it can overflow down onto the male and female parts of the cap, and it gets stuck. So what you do is open up your door to your room, put the lid of the bottle into the jam, close the door till there's a bit of pressure on it, and just twist. Opens every time. Learned that a long time ago from carpentry. So once that's set, don't start doing too much to make sure there's a little bit of excess Zappa Gap on top of that. So I'll just take it off with a bit of tissue paper, and I just build a little bit of wedge at the back of that now for a minute. Great pattern, this one. No, James, no, I don't really use it for anything. It's a fly tying product. Little bit of microglint as a very short stubby tail on this, okay? As we've always done, we just take a little bit of pearl microglint, tease it out, get it up on top. And again, as you can see, calculate turns there to butt. Take away that, okay? Now, let me think for a second. I need to think about the stages here because I need to actually take that back a little bit and have a little less more there to start, a little less to start with, okay? Just get that tail in there. Turn your upside down. Take globe right number 11. Okay, we're actually going to globe right this time, because it's a little bit heavier than the Tommy trade, so it'll save me using a lot of Tommy trade. And I want to get 8 strands of that. Okay, so you want 8 strands. So I'm going to cut a long section. I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to fold it in half again, and I'm going to fold it in half it again. And there I have 8 strands. Okay, so I'm going to have a nice thick piece of floss. On the underside of the hook, what I always do is kind of give it a bit of a twist in your finger to get it to come together. Okay, make sure your fingers are clean. Get a nice clean cut end. It'll help with this process. And in under the body of the hook as best you can, get it trapped in there. One turn, manipulate it in there. Just directly under that hook. Just take your time. Bit of pressure then onto your... Now you got to get in there and clean that out. Doesn't have to be 100% cleaned out, because you are going to have more of the... you're going to have more of the... Thanks, Orca. Good to be back. Hard to believe it's all over, folks, isn't it? Now, so what we want to do now is just go back down and create our butt there, down near the tail. So go back onto the bare hook where the tail starts and start building your body back up using that. Don't put too much pressure on this, making sure we have a nice clean, smooth, as best you can, taper up onto that Javi bead. It'll get a little bit easier now as we get up once I get that. As you can see, we got a nice taper coming up there now off the butt. Now, the one thing we like, and it's the purpose of this fly, is that this stuff is slightly transparent. This olive perdigon, or this olive, the olive, God, the name's gone for me there again now. Body quill, okay? Slightly transparent. And what we're doing is we're keeping that yellow on the underside, and we're just going up the body. Now, I don't want a massive big layer of this on. I want the copper to shine through on the top, and I want the yellow to be underneath. And I find it's best turn it upside down and concentrate on the yellow more than the top, because you do want that copper coming through. Back up there to the second knuckle. Okay, you can see we got a nice taper on that one there now. Okay, nice clean taper. A little something sticking out of the bush. I think it's a bit of microglint from the tail. Take that away. And then the underside will have a very subtle underbody that gives a lovely transformation from a kind of a olivey copper top to it to a little subtle yellow, but still quite bright enough to really give a very effective spot to show. Take away that. Give it one more turn for look, and that's it. Don't overdo it. You got to get that copper to shine through, and you want the yellow to shine through. And that's what I'm saying, when you start off with javies, don't start in the top knuckle and work your way to your body, because when you come up to finish, you'll find that your body will come up over the javi. Your body will come up over the javi and bulk it up a bit, and you won't get that real slim, lovely, slender look on it, okay? Not 100% finished yet. Going to trim that off nice and short. Don't want any great lint in that. Going to take a little bit of brown, UTC dark brown, and just right up there at the very last part, we're going to put a little color of dark brown. And it just helps with that, say that color. You're only looking at a couple of turns here, folks, not many. Just to finish off the head of that fly and get it coming up there like so. So you got a couple of bonuses here with this. You know, it's going to penetrate very quick. It's got an amazing profile. You know, you got that lovely little bit of yellow underneath, lovely olivey copper top to it. Really is a very, very attractive fly. Whip finish tool, James. Going back to my resin now again. Making sure, just got the spool of thread. Making sure it's well sealed right up. And then once you put that resin onto it, you really see the effects of that copper coming through. The lovely olivey kind of brown going up into that head, the underside. Give it a nice coat. All the way down, all the way up. Take your time. Key about getting this nymph to be perfect is allowing that, say, not too many turns of the olive. Allow that copper to come through from the actual bead itself. Little blast at the UV pen. Now you can see the underside, the glow of that yellow. Glow bright. Nice and say. You've one little thing here to one little thing I want to add to the top. It wouldn't be tying perdigons without using a little bit of mica powder. So I have a little bit of gold, tiniest little bit of gold mixed into this resin, but adds a lovely little sparkle to the top of this. And all I'm going to do is just allow a little bit just to sit up there at the very top onto that bead. Very minute, but you can just see a little bit of excess there. So I'll just touch it with my thumb, take off a little bit more. And just allows that body, that goldy, coppery fleck of the body to come up onto the bead, and it just really, makes it a very natural, very, very natural looking nymph. Very subtle there. I can see it probably better than the camera can pick it up, but it is a lovely little, addition on there to take that body up onto the nymph, so you don't have a clean cut definition between the body and the bead head. There we have it, folks. It's another lovely little bit of a twist on a perdigon, kind of same theme, but not your stereotypical perdigon. So that's it tonight, folks. That's all we have for you. Excuse me. We're back live next Saturday night with the launch of the Irish Spring Angling Fair online sales and their website and all the information that's coming. Those pens, Tony, they're on our website. They're €12. I think they're €12. Thanks, Vincent. Go onto our website and you'll find those on our website, Tony. UV pens. We have a new website coming in the next couple of weeks, folks. It's been a long Christmas trying to organise that, but we have a new website coming as well. But with we're going to be down at Adair Springs and for that show in May. So next week it's all going to be based on Adair Springs. We're going to be tying some killer patterns for Adair Springs that we've been using over the few years. We're going to have a chat to the man himself, Mr. Ned Maher, and a few other people that have been down there organising, are very busy down there going to put together a great show for everybody. So next weekend, it's all about Adair Springs. I'll put a post up on it during the week, but watch out for that one, folks. So don't forget to buy your online tickets, www.IrishSpringsAnglingFair.com. Okay, if anybody needs any flight time materials or any gear we use tonight, check out our website, www.scarryfly.com. Huge thanks to everybody. Huge thanks to Eamon Conway from Tom Fly Rods for coming on tonight. Thanks to Dave Donovan for your quiz. Well done, Tom Anketel. Thanks everybody for your continued support. We really appreciate it here at Pescari Fly. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I will see you all next Saturday night at 8:30 p.m. Thanks, everyone. Good night and take care.